Hello friends, today we are going to study about the CAS 3. It is revised 2015, that is effective from 1st April 2016. CAS 3 is on cost accounting standards on production and operation overhead. And now what is cost accounting standard? Basically this is a totally theoretical based standard with relation to CAS 1. But it is cost accounting standards on production and operation overhead. What is overhead? First we are going to understand what is overhead. As earlier we already discussed in CAS 1, and this CAS 3 doesn't explain about the overhead. What is overhead? So let us first revise about the what definition of overhead quickly. So what is overhead? Overhead compromises of cost of indirect material, indirect expenses, indirect labor, which are not directly identifiable or, or allocate to a cost object in an economical and physical way. This matter it is an indirect expenses only. Fine. In CAS, in this CAS 3, that is production and operation overhead, we are going to study about the four major areas that we are going to cover. That is, what is the meaning of the production and operation overhead, and measurement. Second one, how to measure cost, which cost should be included. Then third is assignment, and how we allocate our overhead and how we charge in our product. And fourth and not least, disclosure. What kind of disclosure should be made relating to the cost? Fine. Then moving further, let's also revise what about the cost sheet. Cost sheet is what? It is material plus labor plus direct expenses, which compute prime cost. And in that, production overhead, administration overhead, selling overhead should be added, from which we'll get the total cost of the product. And after that, adding profit in that is will be the sales amount we'll get. So in this, three overheads are there: production overhead, administration overhead, selling overhead. Production overhead is CAS 3, that is we are covering today only in today's topic. CAS 3 production overhead. Admin expenses is related to CAS 11, and selling overhead is CAS 15, that we are going to study in next session as upcoming session. So these are the totally three overheads in the cost accounting standards we are going to study. Fine. Okay. Now coming back to the definition of production and operation overhead. Production overhead means like indirect cost. That overhead is directly indirect cost. It's involved in production of goods or providing of services. For example, like we can say depreciation, rent of factory, building, etc. It should be an indirect cost, and indirect cost should be an economical and feasible way. So this is the introduction and objective of these production and operation overhead. Now let's move further with the important definition. Absorption of production or operation overhead. Assignment of production or operation overhead to cost object by means of appropriate absorption rate. Overhead absorption rate is equal to production or operation overhead of the activity divided by the volume of the activity. For example, the rate obtained by dividing the overhead of a machine shop by a machiner. In this way, simply we need to identify the volume and operation overhead activity. Let's take an example like depreciation. Depreciation is one of the overhead. We can divide it by machine hour. That is, from there we will calculate 1 hour overhead of depreciation. For for absorption of rate calculation, we have to multiply the per hour overhead with total number of hours spent. So from there we get the idea of the company's performance. From here we are going to inform the management of the company that this amount of overhead incurring, and this is that they are losing or earning from this job. We have to inform them. Fine. Administration overhead is, you all know, cost of all activities or any activity relating to general management and administration of an entity. Then cost center is also, you we have discussed, any unit of an entity selected with a view to accumulated all cost under that unit. The unit can be division, department, section, group of plant, machinery, group of employees, or combination of several units. And same imputed cost, notional cost not involving cash outlay, computed for any purposes. That is cost, you can say in another word that cost not actually incurred, but it is irrelevant. For example, that is rent of our own house. Fine. Then indirect material cost. Indirect material cost, indirect employee cost, and indirect expenses. These are three other costs we are going to. Let's say the company is on a very large scale and they are manufacturing something and using the machine, and that machine is the capital goods of that company, and that is very critical, and company should take care of that machine. If there is any breakdown or something else, the company should have to take care of that machine on regular basis. For that purpose, company book engineers for the same job. In that, there are many jobs to be done by the engineer, like regular routine work of maintenance of the machine, breakdown if it is, any uncertainty comes, then the engineer has to take follow up with everything. So it is an identifiable indirect employee cost, you can say, to a particular cost object, right? So this is the indirect employee cost, indirect material cost. Fine. Then what is indirect expenses? You can say indirect material cost also, indirect expenses is also this. Indirectly engineer is performing at a time multiple tasks, so that will be also an indirect cost of us. And indirect material also, like for maintenance of the machine, like they need tools, oil, fuel, petrol, etc. So these are the indirect material cost also, then they are need to be done in that the particular job. Fine, then standard cost, as you know, away the I can read for you. A predetermined cost of a product or service based on technical specification and efficient operation condition. These all we have done in CAS 1. And standard costs are used as scale of reference to compare the actual cost with the standard cost, with a view to determine the variance, if any, and analyze the cause of variance and take proper measures to control them. Standard costs are also used for estimation. Fine, I hope you got all this point that standard costs are always used for estimation of the cost of the product. Fine, as we have already studied in earlier standards. Variable cost is all the same as well. If the it's vary with the directly vary with the volume of the activity. If volume increases, then our variable cost also increases. If decreases volume, then the variable cost will also decrease. Fine. Then the principal is production or operation overhead, representing procurement of resources shall be determined at invoice at agreed price, including duties and taxes, and other expenditure directly attributed thereto net of discount, other than cash discount, taxes and duties refundable to be or to be credited. Okay. Principle of measurement, that it can be treated in different manners. Let's say in two different manners. One is like for outsourcing, that if you purchase ready made from outside material, then the price will be at agreed price or invoice price. In that, we are going to add duties and taxes, other expenses, and net of trade discount. Trade discount in which cash discount is not to be deducted, as cash discount is a financial income. So cash discount is not going to be added in trade discount. So this is, and with reference to duties and taxes, if there is that taxes and duties are refundable, shall not be form part of cost. In case if we paid any taxes, that is refundable, and ITC are available on that same amount, that will not be included in production overhead cost. And this is the one ready if you are purchasing the ready made product from outside the house. Second option is within the organization, we are building a product in house. In that, we are taking cost with three costs. Majorly three costs will be included. It's material cost, labor cost, and other overhead cost. So these are the costs that we are going to include in the production overhead. An abnormal cost where it is material and quantifiable shall not be part of the production or operation overhead. Fine. Impure production or overhead shall not include imputed cost. Imputed cost is also not part of production overhead. Production or operation overhead. attribute to normal reason shall be treated as part of production or operation overhead, shall be reduced to ascertain for the cost of the cost object to which such amounts are related. Whenever we are using standard cost for computing the cost of a product, then there is a variance. If the variance is attributed to normal reason, then your variable should be part of the production overhead. If the variance is attributed to abnormal reason, then it should be excluded from a production overhead. It's just simple that if there is a variance and that is related to normal reason, it should be a part of the there is a satisfaction normal reason anyway. If there it will be relating to abnormal reasons, so it shall be excluded from the production overhead. Right? Then subsidy, grant, recovery shall be deducted. Fines, penalties, damage shall also be deducted, not be part of the production overhead. Credit or recovery is related to production overhead. Same, any okay shall be deducted from the total production, not to be part of the production and operation overhead. Any change in the cost accounting principles applied for the measurement of production or operation overhead shall made only if it is required by law. See, there are the three conditions if there any change in the cost accounting principles. First is if it is required by law. Second is for compliance with the requirement of cost accounting standard. And third is change would result in more appropriate preparation or presentation of a cost statement of an entity. This is a condition. If they like if there is any change in the last year, then these will be the condition. With reference to this condition, company has to prove the cost auditor that changes will satisfy above three conditions. That's why we are doing this. And that cost if the cost auditor is satisfied with, then he can allow to change in that cost accounting principles. Fine. So these are the if there is any change from the last year, then this has to be satisfied with these three conditions. Okay. Now assignment. What is assignment? Assignment of cost means allocation of a cost to a cost object or a cost of product. Fine. Assigning of product or operation traceability to a cost object in an economically physical manner. Listen, this is very carefully. Economical physical manner shall be the guiding principle. Right? And the cost which can be traced directly to a cost object shall be directly assigned. Fine. Like this is very critical condition, yeah, which is very critical. If I ask a company that n number of activities that is performing by which is performed by company, and the company doesn't have that record, it is very difficult to relate that record to the previous year. So in that case, I would always suggest that you create this record from this year so as to ensure that it has to be handed over in an economical, feasible manner. That should be my guiding lines. Okay, that should be my guiding line principles. You can say the cost which can be traced directly to a cost object shall be directly assigned. As simple. And listen, we are saying again and again economical feasible manner. What it is economical feasible manner? As I already told you in CAS 1, we have already studied about it. Just to revise it, I can tell you. Just it's a simple definition. Economical feasible manner means that that it is practically possible to assign the cost to a particular product service with a reasonable cost. That it should be directly allocatable or like easily identify. Practically possible to assign the cost to a particular product service with a reasonable cost. Fine. Okay. Assignment of production or operation overhead to a cost object shall be based on either of two principles. Based these are the overheads, production or operation based on the two principles, that is cause and effects and benefits received. It is cause and effect is the process of operation or activity and effect in the incurrence of cost. That is, what is the cause of a particular product incurrence of expenditure? I will ask to allocate the entire expenditure to a particular object in that case. And benefit, the production overhead are to be apportioned to the various cost object in proportion to the benefits received by which cost will receive maximum benefit out of particular expenditure, I will ask to allocate that overhead in a particular cost object based on the benefits received on that expenditure. Assignment, as we have already done, these are based on actual production or based on normal capacity, right? We have already studied in CAS 2 also what is normal capacity and actual production. Right? For further reference, you can go in my YouTube channel. There you will find the cost accounting standards too. There you will find the definition of all the things for your further reference. Right? Now about the presentation. Production and operation overhead shall be presented as a separate cost head. Always as a separate cost head, it should be presentable. If there is a material element wise, behavior wise detail, we have to mention should be presented in a production and operation. If there is any under or over absorption of the production, then we have to reconcile, present it in a reconciliation statement also. Disclosure, the basis of assignment of production or operation overhead to a cost object. Fine. It's in if it is incurred in foreign exchange or it is related to parties also. If there is any subsidy, grant, incentives received, then we have to disclose it. Credit or recoveries also, if there is any abnormal cost not forming part of the production, if like any abnormal cost has been incurring and that is not part of our production operation overhead, then we have to disclose that also. Same way, unabsorbed production or operation overhead. Disclosure shall be made only where material significant and quantifiable, that it should be quantifiable. Any change in the cost accounting principles and methods, देखो is we have already studied in few PPT back only, that if there is any change in accounting principles with this satisfy with these three condition methods for the measurement assignment of a production or operation during the period covered by the cost which have the material effect on the production or shall be disclosed. If there is any like if there is changes have been made and these three conditions have been satisfied and auditor has been satisfied with all the and he is allowing, then we have to disclose in our statement that these cost accounting principles have been changed, that will give effect material effect. It maybe can be affect material effect of on production or overhead, or it's if it is if there is any presentation or cost sheet has been improved from that to cost accounting principles, then in that case we also disclose it. Whether the changes have made is affecting wholly or partly, then also we have to disclose in our statement. Fine. And disclosure, as you know, always should be made in cost statement or as a footnote or as a separate schedule. These three are the things where we have to make disclosure always. So guys, this is the CAS 3. Hope I made you all clear with all the things. And if you want to see my earlier videos also, you can on cost accounting standard 1 2 introduction also, it is there, and you can go on my channel and see there. uh, I hope you like my channel, and please like and subscribe, and we're going to meet you soon with next video on CAS 4. Till then, bye.